So for this pre-class video, I want to teach just, two or three concepts which we will be using in the next class. I promise to keep it very short, but please make sure to practice it before the next class. So this is something that we learned in today's live class, right? Or yesterday's live class. So we have a function, factory function, that creates an object, returns an object, and we are creating a prototype chain between this object that we are creating and returning with one another object that contains several methods that we want to share, but we don't want to copy them in each and every object. So we are creating a prototype chain in between this object and this object here. And we are using object.setPrototype of for the same. Very, simple, very straightforward. This is one thing. We'll return back to it. Okay. Let me create a new snippet. Another concept, again, we learned today was if we have two objects, JavaScript objects, it is possible to create a prototype chain between those objects. We have several tools like set prototype of, and what basically it does is every object has a hidden proto property, and that proto property is used to create this prototype chain. Okay, so this is something that we learned today, that two objects, any two JavaScript objects, we can create a prototype chain between them. Now friends, instead of object, if I have a function, we have a function called maybe, do something. So we have a function called do something. So is there a way by which, I can use this function and store some of the, maybe functions inside of this function, or maybe some properties inside of this function, and, you know, I can create a chain in between function and objects. It's very easy and clear. We know that we can create prototypical chain between two objects. But is it possible to create a chain from function to an object? The answer is directly yes, directly no, but JavaScript does give us a mechanism to do that. So JavaScript gives every function a hidden property. What? A hidden property called prototype. Okay, which is nothing but an object. So every function has a hidden property called prototype. Again, don't get confused with prototypical inheritance. Do not get confused with the hidden property proto. Don't get confused with any of these. Actually, to be honest, this is not a very good name that they thought of, the creators of JavaScript thought of, but there is a hidden property called prototype, which is nothing but an object. And what you can do is you can stick any method to this prototype and easily create a chain in between them. How do you do that? First, let us visually see it, okay? Because it's a new concept for you. So here is a function. Every function has a prototype property, which is an object. And it also, it has this proto property. It's just a normal object. Although we cannot directly create a connection with this function, but we can always create connections or chains with the function's prototype object. Okay, so whenever two developers talk, they call it as functions prototype object. Again, it is named really badly. Do not confuse it with proto. Do not confuse it with prototypical inheritance. Just think of it as an object, a hidden object which is inside of a function, and it's named prototype. Okay, now let's see how we can use this in our example. So what we can do is, either before or after this, anywhere works. So this is a function do something dot. We know that it has a hidden property called prototype. And what is the type of prototype? It's an object. Can you attach a method like say wow to it? Something that we have already done several times. So we know that do something has a property called prototype, which is an object. And we can use dot notation or box notation to add any more property or method to it, right? And what will this do? This will simply console log. This will simply console log wow. I'll again repeat it, friends. We had a function. JavaScript to each and every function has a hidden property called prototype, which is an object. And to every object, we can attach a method or a property. In here, in line number 1, what we are doing is to our function do something, we are attaching a method called saveOut to the prototype property. As simple as that. Now, second thing, can we create a chain between this object 1 and this prototype? Let me do one thing. Let me get rid of this object for now, okay? Let us keep just one object here. And let's try to create a chain in between them. You can maybe pause the video and try to create the chain yourself. Okay, let's see how we can do that. So object dot set prototype of object 1 to be do something dot prototype. So what? We have two objects, object 1 and do something dot prototype, and we are trying to create a connection between them. Let's see what happens. So now if I do object 1 dot say wow, you will be able to see wow. Why? Because object 1 has the prototypical chain with function do something's prototype object. Since prototype is an object, nothing is stopping us from creating chain of do something dot prototype with this particular object. Very important, friends. Do practice it a little bit before coming to tomorrow's class. Okay. I want to teach just one more thing, friends. Just one more thing so that we have some extra time tomorrow to practice these things. Okay. Or maybe no. I won't give you any extra thing to do. Just make sure to practice, you know, that every function has a hidden prototype object, and just try to create a function, try to create an object, and try to create a chain between that object and the function's prototype object. Okay, just try your best to do that.